Well, you are listening to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. Only I am not Brian Fisher. And I'm happy to be filling in today and hanging out with you. And we are going to get to your phone calls coming up in the next hour. So you stay with us because we want to hear from you. But first, we are talking about the crazy California Hollywood, as it were. And we have a guest who is our go-to guy for what the left is up to in Hollywood. He's Newsmax Hollywood reporter and legal analyst, James Hirsen. And James, I want to get to the topic of the Olympics, which, as I mentioned, has become sort of this technicolor cornucopia of all smut coming out of Hollywood. We have communism. We have trannyism. What in the world? This is what I don't get. I was looking at Jenna Bush's, obviously the daughter and granddaughter of the presidential family, the Bush family. I was looking at her Twitter feed, James, and she's all Susie NBC now. And all I can think about is the days when I watched those same pundits, who I'm not even going to name because I just don't even want to give them that. I watched those same pundits for years bash her family and everything that they stood for. And now there she stands doing selfies with them, doing party pics with them, singing the praises of these people. What is going on here?
Yeah. She always is kind of marched to her own drummer. So I'm not sure she understands really how the depth of the insults that were directed towards her family, towards her father. Because I don't think she would do that, would have that kind of coziness, but also, she's trying to make a living. But when you bring up the Olympics, the thing that, and I have a piece up on Newsmax.com on this, it is almost inexplicable how, and there's a Hollywood connection here, because I was interested. NBC's doing the coverage of the Olympics, huge ratings, of course, and they secured this Emmy-winning Hollywood actor, very good actor, Peter Dinklage, and he plays one of the title roles in Game of Thrones. He's got a great voice. So he's doing the voiceover for one of their pieces that is taking you into the opening ceremonies. And while, we expect the Russian, former Soviet Union to kind of try to be prideful about their history, they even had a giant hammer and sickle come into the stadium. We don't expect an American network to whitewash what was a horribly oppressive authoritarian system, communism, because in a script that was pre-written, in a section that was pre-recorded, pre-produced, and vetted, Dinklage read to this huge audience about the revolution in Russia that birthed one of modern history's pivotal experiments.
Yeah.
Now, calling that a pivotal experiment, responsible for tens of millions of deaths, untold suffering, repression. One Russian person who lived under that system said, the system took away smiles. No one smiled.
And that is so true. James, have you spent time in Russia?
Pardon?
Have you spent time in Russia?
I have never been to Russia, and I'm sure that it's gorgeous. And
it is. No, it's fabulous. But what you said about the taking away the smile of the people is so absolutely dead on accurate. I was really honored as one of my favorite memories of my life. My husband and I wrote about it in my book, Ladies and Gentlemen. My husband and I got to spend some time in Russia, and just a total God thing. One of those things. It's just too amazing a story to even lay out. But we got to ride horses into Red Square and pray there for the future of Russia and for the future of our relationship with Russia. And the one thing that I did definitely notice was the old guard in Russia, the absolute stoic demeanor of them. There is, you're right, there's no smile. You look at the younger people, they were happier at that time. There was a fresher thought of some sort of free market ideology possibly permeating the culture, and to some degree I think it did, but to a lot of degree it remained very raw and very immature, that free market, and never really caught foot or took root into that old guard communism. And now, of course, that we have Putin, the way he's acting and the things he's doing, when you look at the athletes in Russia and the almost rehearsed, do you see this, praise of Putin and the regime there? Yeah.
The Bob Costas went overboard, and no question about it. But to call this a pivotal experiment, it would be like doing a piece about American history and calling slavery a pivotal experiment.
Yes.
It gave birth to, because we're talking about the Black Book of Communism, which was published by Harvard University Press, estimates that the people who died from this system of government is in excess of 90 million people's deaths. Mm-hmm. We're talking about more deaths than all the modern wars combined, more deaths than any other
pivotal experience.
Yeah, and then in the Soviet Union, we're talking, it wasn't just executions and murders, it was forced famines, it was concentration camps, it was forced deportations, and in the millions, and relatives are still alive. It's insulting to them. It's despicable, reprehensible what NBC did, and their news department. This is their sports division that crafted this, but this has become a news story, and the news department refuses to cover it, just like they refuse to cover the Obama administration. So it amazes me that there's not more of a backlash against NBC for a series of things they've done, confirming their bias, mm-hmm. and really not doing their job as journalists. Interestingly enough, NBC is also the employer of Lorne Michaels, producer of Saturday Night Live, who now has taken over late night with Jimmy Fallon and is going to take over the Tonight Show and late night that follows it. And here's a guy who recently said that the reason Saturday Night Live makes fun of Republicans is because Democrats don't have as good a sense of humor as Republicans, so it's easier to make fun of Republicans. What's interesting about that is he's acknowledging the bias. He's admitting that what everybody knows is that they target right-of-center people on Saturday Night Live.
Right.
And the second thing is he comes up with this miserable excuse trying to praise his targets. Oh, the reason we go after Republicans is because they can take a joke better than the Democrats. How ridiculous.
Exactly, and shouldn't the Olympics anyway be about the sportsmanship and the patriotism of each country? NBC has made it instead about this LGBT situation. There's one ex-Olympic skater and current NBC commentator for the games. His name is Johnny Weir, and he's protesting Russia's homosexual laws live on air. So he has dressed as a transvestite to broadcast on. What does this have to do with the Olympics, James? What are we missing here?
Yeah, it's a sports department. We're supposed to be talking sports. It's like, now somebody covering a game, the first or a college football game of this guy recently who came out, the linebacker dressed as a transvestite. And by the way, gay people would be offended because that's the implication. This moron thinks that being a transvestite is the same as being gay, which is not true. And so I bet, in the hallways and the offices of GLAAD, they're probably wanting to send, a nasty missive to this guy. Say, hey, wait a minute, you're helping us the wrong way.
Yeah.
But it doesn't belong in that venue in any form or shape. And what that is, there's a lot of people, they want to jump on the bandwagon because it pays dividends.
Yeah.
We see it everywhere in Hollywood and in the media. If you come out and you defend gay rights, the gay movement, and you attack conservatives who are interested in preserving the definition of traditional marriage, for example, you're given goodies for doing that, and you're praised. And if you try to at all deal with, the other side of the argument, you're automatically classified as a bigot.
Yeah, so many Americans have been so surprised by the technical difficulties at the Olympics. I know one of the rings didn't light up in the opening ceremonies, and there have been all sorts of power outages and elevators that opened to nowhere and people getting stuck in elevators and so on and so forth. I watched a brief tour of one of the rooms of the Olympians, and that was fascinating, just the things that they don't have, like these little tiny towels instead of big bath towels, things like that. And it didn't surprise me at all because I've traveled in Europe, and I know that statism doesn't work. Free market works. Competition works. I love the term, the miracle of the free market. They don't have that there. You would never see, if this Olympics were taking place in the United States, you would never see these epic fails. But you will always see these epic fails, not to mention the millions of people that died because of the, what did they call it, the pivotal experience. Not to mention the people that died because of that. Yeah.
Well, no, you bring up an important point. That's the other side of what's missing from the narrative on communism. It's an empirical, abject failure. Wherever it's been tried, it ends in collapse, bankruptcy, unsustainability, and suffering.
And that's why, as you point out in your post that I want people to catch, jameshirsen.com, Ronald Reagan didn't mince words when he came to his description of the Soviet Union. He called it the evil empire. Thank you so much, James Hirsen, for being on the show with us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Coming up, have you turned off the Olympics because of the smut? We want to talk to you about that. 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840 is the number to call. I'm Dr. Gina.